Hello, this video is for A&P2 students. In this video, what I want to do is go over Lab 5, the Respiratory Anatomy Lab. And what I have here is a cow pluck. It's a set of lungs and trachea that we got from the butcher shop. And I think it's a good model to show the major organs of the respiratory system. To start, just to orient ourselves, you have this side, which is the ventral side of the animal, or the anterior side in humans, and then this back side, which is the dorsal or the posterior side in humans. And this long tube-like structure going down, feeding into the lungs, is the trachea. And the trachea is held open by these rings, and there are these C-shaped rings right here, and they're called cricoid rings. And they are really used to support the integrity of the windpipe and keep the trachea open. And they're connected in the back here by a trachealis muscle. Okay. And now these ring-like structures are going to extend, going all the way down into both main stem bronchi, and they're going to hold the tube open. Okay. Now, going off from the trachea, you have the right and left main stem bronchi, and then they're going to break off into your secondary bronchi, and then your tertiary bronchi, until eventually many generations are going to go down until you have your terminal bronchi. And then all throughout the lungs, the terminal bronchi is going to eventually go into your terminate into your respiratory bronchi. And your respiratory bronchi is where the action happens. So you have air or oxygen coming down in through here, and it's going to go through your alveolar ducts and then into your alveolar sacs. And your alveolar sacs are composed of a thin basement membrane that contains a squamous epithelial layer, and surrounded is a bed of capillaries, and that's where you're going to have a gas diffusion occur. While we're talking about tissue types, if you were to look on the inside of the trachea in here, you would see that there is pseudo-stratified tissue types, and that's going to be covered with cilia. And now, to blow the lungs up, you'll see just how, big these things can get. You can see this gets huge, multiple times the size when it's completely blown up. And then you have these individual lobes of the lungs. Now in humans, you have 2 lobes on your left lung and 3 lobes in your right lung. It's a little bit different in cows, but you still have the same principle where you have these fissures, which are going to separate the lobes of the lung. And if we look over here, you can see that we have another set of lungs, much smaller than the cow lungs. These lungs are, I believe, from a pig. Okay, and again, this is the same orientation. You have the ventral side here and the dorsal side here. And once we pump this up, you can see, even in the case of the pig, the lungs are going to expand much larger than they are when they're, deflated. And if you feel them, it feels like a spongy material. Most of this is air in here. Okay, and in the same principle, you have fissures separating the individual lobes of the lung.